Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to The Big Sweep. Today's episode is all about how to clean up drywall dust after the renovation. Most of us have done a renovation project in our home that involved drywall mud, and drywall dust. You must agree that the dust is difficult, to say the least, to clean up. It is ultrafine and there's lots of it. It coats everything, no matter how hard you try to contain it. This video offers some helpful tips to help keep the dust corralled and ways to get the mess cleaned up. Before we get started, statistics show that over 87% of you watching are not subscribed to the channel. It's free, so go ahead, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to The Big Sweep, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Now let's get right to it! Soundproof walls can be quickly constructed with drywall. However, there is a cost for the expediency. It is difficult to clean up the ultrafine drywall dust that is left behind after sanding the cured joint compound. Moreover, cleaning up spilled joint compound, whether it's wet or dry, can be challenging. Still, there are a few methods that can reduce the amount of labor and debris while cleaning drywall dust off of drywall or the floor. Joint compound can be cleaned up at 3 different drying stages: still wet, partially set, and dried and rigid. Here are some tips for cleaning up drywall dust from the floor. Tip number 1. It is easy to disturb the fine drywall dust that is on the floor. Take extra care when working to prevent kicking up dust and spreading it throughout the house. Walk slowly and don't drag your feet. Number 2. It can be helpful to place plastic sheeting on the floor to assist with the cleanup. Most of the dust will fall onto the sheeting, making it easier to clean up. When the mudding and sanding are finished and it's time to clean up, just fold the plastic sheeting's edges inward slowly so you disturb the dust as little as possible, and most of it will be captured in the plastic. To shake out the sheeting or dispose of it, grab the top of the folded plastic and take it outside. Either shake the dust out on a grassy area or put the entire package in the trash. Number 3. Use a soft bristled broom to remove big areas of drywall dust from the floor. Avoid sweeping too forcefully so you don't kick up a cloud of dust. Gently collect the debris with a dustpan and place it outdoors in a trash can with a lid so it doesn't blow around. Number 4. If at all possible, take the shop vac outside and run the hose inside to remove any drywall dust that remains on the floor. You can purchase shop vacuum hose extensions. They are available in increments of 10 and 15 feet, so you can keep the dust outside. Some tips to remove dust from drywall. Our first tip: dust accumulates on everything, including the drywall, during a home remodeling project. Painting usually happens last, so a fine coating of sawdust, drywall dust, and other debris has gathered on top of the unprimed, unpainted drywall on the walls. Drywall has a thin paper face. Water-based cleaning methods are not very effective on paper. This is the main problem with cleaning the surface of drywall. Add to that the fact that drywall dust hardens when water is added. Therefore, start with dry cleaning techniques before moving on to wet, liquid-based techniques. With your dust mask on, lightly brush the dust off the walls with a soft broom or hand brush. Move somewhat slowly from top to bottom. Sweep the dust from the floor afterwards and before the next step. Wearing a dust mask, clean the drywall with the wide nozzle and/or brush nozzle on your shop vacuum. Start at the top and work downward. Do not press too hard. Keep the pressure light to avoid embedding the dust into the porous surface of the paper. For small areas, use a tack cloth to very lightly wipe off debris. Pressing too hard on the tack cloth will embed wax in the drywall paper, so go easy. Once the wax has become embedded, it is extremely difficult to remove. Wet a drywall sponge and then squeeze it out. The sponge will feel almost dry in your hand. Begin at the top of the drywall. With gentle pressure, pull the sponge in downward strokes. Rinse out and squeeze the sponge frequently. Change out the water when it begins to get murky. How to maintain a semi-wet or wet joint compound. Water will remove the joint compound as long as it is still moist or hasn't started to solidify. Water won't assist if the joint compound has solidified. You'll need to sand or scrape it. Thus, while cleaning up wet drywall mud, speed is crucial. Get going quickly. To clean up the mess, always have a paper towel or cotton rag with you. Dropped drywall compound should always be cleaned up as soon as possible. Apply warm water. There is still a grace period during which you may use water to clear goopy, semi-wet drywall mud. After the joint compound has had time to solidify, the impact of water will be significantly diminished. Tools can be soaked in hot water for 10 minutes or so to soften the drywall mud. Since all-purpose joint compound dissolves in water, the mud should come off with ease. However, it may be necessary to use a brush. Apply a gentle wipe with a warm, wet cloth. How to remove dry joint compound from drywall. Drywall joint compound, sometimes known as mud, is difficult to clean. After all, the purpose of drywall mud is long-term use. Joint compound is intended to help seal and conceal seams for an extended period of time. After drying completely, drywall compound won't soak away. Days may pass while you moisten the surface or your tools, but the drywall compound will not completely dissolve. Sanding or scraping is your only option at this time. If this is a drywall tool, scrape using a putty knife or another drywall tool to loosen the compound. If this is a delicate surface like a floor, try using a rubber mallet or hammer covered in fabric to gently hit the dried mud from the top to break it up. Then use a plastic tool to scrape from the side. Here are 3 pointers to prevent mess in drywall joint compounds. Tip number 1. Use a mud pan for drywall compound. Prevent the issue from arising by maintaining cleanliness. The simplest approach to minimize drywall mud mess is to use a mud pan. It's a pan that is the correct size and shape to use worth a drywall knife. If you often remove drywall mud straight from the bucket, you might be shocked to find that using one of these elongated pans, which are made to fit the shape of drywall knives, makes the process much easier and cleaner. Number 2. Reduce mud scooping. It's possible that you're eager to finish the mudding task. However, sifting through a lot of drywall joint compound will not help you. Avoid using too much drywall mud. You will eventually need to sand down additional mud if you apply more of it. You don't need to use a lot of mud if the drywall sheets are put correctly, flat on the studs and with narrow joints. Covered areas. Since it's anticipated that paint will drip, most painters always use drop cloths to protect the floors when painting. However, drywall mud is thick enough that, for the most part, it is simple to scoop up and apply neatly to the wall. When mud spills from the drywall knife, protect potentially slopped surfaces with a canvas drop cloth. It's far easier to clean up that way. You only need to sheet the 2 or 3 feet in front of the wall unless you plan to muffle the ceiling. Clean up any spilled drywall mud as soon as possible. Scrape up any gobs with your drywall knife. Wipe up any excess with a damp cloth. Remember, when it comes to drywall mud, less is more. The less mud you put on, the less you will have to sand, and the less mess you will have to clean up. Click here for tips on maintaining a dust-free home. If this video was helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to The Big Sweep. Ring the notification bell so you never miss another episode. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.